leather square with cantinas, pockets cut, sewn in each corner. They were locked except the one over on the left, so that they could put the one on the left. They could put messages in there, from station to station. Okay, so our mochila is cut for a western saddle. It's much larger. We carry about anywhere from 600 to 800 letters on our rerun. The letters are commemorative letters about the Pony Express in the state of Colorado this year. Now, originally they carried telegrams and they carried letters. Let me back up. Okay, I've given you kind of an overall view. The Pony Express was a private mail service. It wasn't started by Wells Fargo. It wasn't started by the U.S. Post Office. Russell, Majors, and Waddell, a premier freighting firm of its day, they had a virtual monopoly on supplying the western ports. They had 75,000 oxen at the ranches in Missouri and Kansas. So they wanted to capture a federal mail contract that was up a bit. You see, in 1860, there was no Highway 80 or 10 or 15 or like that. There were some dirt tracks. There was no stagecoach between here and Salt Lake, for instance. There was no telegraph between here and Salt Lake or the western settlements. There was a mail service by stage on the southern route, the Oxbow route. But that mail came into Los Angeles and then had to come up here. That was a 21-day service. What Russell, Majors, and Waddell wanted to do, said they could do, was they were going to start a horse express, a pony express, not a stage express, from St. Joe, the Missouri River, to Sacramento, and then beyond to San Francisco. Okay? So they made the commitment in January of 1860. By April 3rd, they had put together 190 stations. Not only stations that were built from scratch, okay, but used existing stations, used existing lodges like Sportsman's Hall up there in Polly Pines. Okay, so April 3rd, a rider left San Francisco. Merchant Montgomery Street went down to the wharf, put the mochila on the boat, steamboat to Sacramento. It arrived in old Sacramento at 2 o'clock in the morning. At 2:45, William Hamilton left in a driving rainstorm. And for the first 3 weeks, they didn't come to Folsom. They bypassed. They were on the White Rock Road, but after they kept going. Crossed Echo Summit, went up through South Fork of the American. Oh, that first rider, Hamilton, he stopped at Sportsman's Hall in what they called Upper Placerville then. They changed riders then. Before then, about every 10 or 12 miles, they had a rider and they had a horse there, ready, saddled, and ready to go. Okay? So, I said they had a rider, I'm sorry. They had a horse saddled and ready. And Mochila could be taken off a horse, was supposed to be taken off a horse, put on another horse, and he was supposed to be gone in 2 minutes. The mochila only weighed about 13 pounds. Ours weigh about 40 pounds dry. During the ride, sometimes it gets soaked wet. We've heard of water running out of the cantinas. See, the first 3 weeks, they went over Echo Summit, over Luther Pass, Hope Valley, down to Woodford's, and then up to Genoa. When they made the change after the first 6 weeks, it went up and over Kingsbury Grade, down to the Tahoe Basin. And right there across from Edgewood, Tahoe, was Friday Station. Relay Point there, and then another one down at Myers at Yanks. And then they went up the Johnson's Pass, crossing over Echo Summit, and then down to South Fork, the American. The riders rode about 75 miles each before they changed horses, except in some cases when the rider arrived, the outgoing rider was sick, so they continued on. And in some places, you know, during the Pioneer Indian War, the station's been burned. Buffalo Bill holds the record for the longest run, continuous run. Pony Bob Haslam went a little bit further, but he had about a 9-hour break. So Buffalo Bill said he rode 384 miles on 20 hours on 22 horses. Now, I figured out once, I looked, I measured, it's 384 miles to Los Angeles. Think about that, one person riding that way. He was a young kid there. He was only 15. He only rode 2.5 months. You wonder why. Okay, so the pony carried over 30,000 pieces of mail in the 19 months that it operated. It proved the central route passable through Placerville and Salt Lake. And as a result of that, the Overland Telegraph and basically the Transcontinental Railroad followed in its path, in its horseshoes. It changed the way business was done in California. You couldn't write a check and expect the money to be in the bank, you know, in 6 weeks. It had to be there in 3 weeks or less. So it eliminated the float, or really cut it down. We don't know much about the float now today, you know, instantaneous. The telegraph went that route, and telegraph was its demise. On October 24th, 1861, the telegraph was connected in Salt Lake City. And what that meant was telegrams could be sent very fast. The pony carried not only letters, but it also carried telegrams. And it became cheaper for people to send. So the mochia, let me see if I can see it. Here it is. Right here. I haven't seen this before. If you look on here, it'll say Colorado. So Colorado is highlighted. And at the end of the ride, this mochia will go to the Colorado Division of the National Pony Express Association. If you look on here, if you get a chance, you'll see names. Yeah, it's right here.
Oh, okay.
So, you'll see the names of the riders.
Yeah.
Not everybody gets to sign it, and unfortunately, you know, the guys and the girls in Kansas, Missouri, Kansas, and probably Nebraska, they get to sign where they want to sign. And sometimes it gets rubbed off. Okay, Carolyn Gilmore is the outgoing rider. Carolyn is president of the California Division. She lives in El Dorado. There we go. Okay, please raise your right hand. I,
Carolyn Gilmore,
do hereby swear
do hereby swear
before the great and living God
before the great and living God
that during my engagement
as
as a member of the National Pony Express Association Reride,
a member of the National Pony Express Reride,
I will under no circumstances use profane language, that I will drink no intoxicating liquors,
that I will drink no intoxicating liquors,
that I will not quarrel
that I will not quarrel
or fight
or fight
with any other member
with any other member
of the association,
and
that in every respect
in every respect
I will conduct myself honestly, be faithful to my duties, and so direct all my acts as to win the confidence of my associates.
as to win the confidence of my associates.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Now, in 1858, Russell Major Waddell purchased 2,000 Bibles from the American Bible Society. We give our writers a New Testament. It's not a good luck charm. We want them to read it. So many writers do carry those, carry it with them. But Russell and Major Waddell were interested in having writers that lived a just life. Who wrote the letters? The letters can be purchased from the NPA. We start sending out applications in February. Okay. Oh, you know, it's so the letters are written, are purchased by our members and people, the public, throughout the world. Pony Express is very popular. I need to tell you a little bit about the Wells Fargo building here. This was an assay office here, and it became a relay station, exchange point on the original Pony Express. The mail came in here, then it was put on the cars of the Sacramento Valley Railroad and taken down to Sacramento, and then put on the steamboat. We appreciate what the Folsom Police Department has done for us, and the California Highway Patrol beyond them as an escort. This is a 8-state event. Again, we travel 24 hours a day.